Hey, welcome to Unperturbed, the podcast where high-achieving Black women come to take off their strong Black woman cape. You know, the one that keeps them people-pleasing, overgiving, and putting themselves dead last. Yeah, we're not doing that anymore. On Unperturbed, we're empowering you to put you first, unapologetically and boldly, so you can show up for yourself the same way you've been showing up for everyone else. This is where empty vessels get refilled. So look, go ahead and like and subscribe to this channel, share it with your sister friends who are running around with empty cups too, and then come kick it with us inside The Haven, our private Facebook community where we go even deeper. Trust me, you need this space. Head on over to enterthehaven.net to join us. All right, it's time for the best part. Let's get into it. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your girl once again. It's Dr. Rhonda back for another episode of Unperturbed. Listen, I'm so excited to have my friend and my coach, Shanel Evans, with me on the podcast today. What's up, Shanel?
Hey,
welcome.
I'm excited. I'm a little nervous, though. It's always a little nerve-wracking when a client interviews you.
You're like, give me the secrets. Tell me the scoop, right? Yeah, I am so excited to have you here. I have been working with Shanel like going on 2 years now.
Mhm.
And over the course of that working together, we have also become sister friends and somebody that I treasure and trust very, very much. And she's kind of like my secret weapon. Like I don't share Shanel with everybody.
Right.
Okay? You can't have my girl. I just am really appreciative to have you on the podcast today. And first of all, introduce yourself to the people before we jump into this exciting conversation we're finna have.
Yeah. I am excited. My name's Shanel. I'm a marketing and business strategist, and consultants and organizations bring me on when they recognize that, you know what, I'm making a shift in my offer, a shift in my audience. I want to be able to attract a new type of person. So we work with them on audience expansion, offer creation, content, and social media strategy. So yeah, I'm pumped. I'm excited.
Yes. Y'all, listen, the truth of the matter is what you see on social media today of Dr. Rhonda is 100% because of this woman's influence, like total level. And that's what she does. Not only helps us to level up our socials, but our business, our mindset, our way of handling things, and just everything. So I'm excited. I noticed that our messaging lately has been very, very synchronized in terms of looking at what's been going on around us. And if I'm honest, Shanel, it's kind of scary out here. There's a huge shift going on, not only in the economy and in government, but just how people are doing business and how they are approaching business, how they're approaching their professional lives. And it all has to do with like this incoming change, this government change. And for me, that has shown up as people wondering, how am I going to make my next big move? Right. And I've been coaching people through, what are they going to do right? If the hammer drops and what you thought was secure is all of a sudden gone, gone. And we're seeing that happen, like whole divisions of government agencies disappearing, businesses completely changing how they're doing business. And so when it comes to the people that you're working with, what are you hearing about what they need in this shift? Like how can people address their needs when everything feels so unsure?
So weird. Yeah. Most, myself included. So I'll count myself in that as well as clients. I feel like we're in this space, and I'm in this space where you don't know what's real or what's not. So as much as I love social media, I've built business on social media. I've built long-term friendships and relationships on social. This is how I make my livelihood, right? But even I have a love-hate relationship with social media because over the past, I'll say like 6 months, a year, you don't know what's real. You don't know what's fake. Is what I'm seeing your AI representative? Are these your cute and fun words that you pulled out of ChatGPT, or is this really how you think? Is this really how you look? Is this really your mannerisms, right? Like an AI can be a video now, right? So we're in this space where you don't know if people are real or not, but then you also don't know if situations are real because you can't necessarily trust information. So it is a really weird space to be in. And so I find that my clients and myself, like, you just want the real. Like,
Right.
I don't want no fluffy stuff. I don't want you to sell me no, a bag of bricks and pretend like it's, a pot of gold. Like, just keep it 100, keep it real with me. And so I find that people, they really want real, they want community, because and community means a lot of things to a lot of people. So it can be online community, it could be in person, but people want to be able to know that, what, there's at least one or two people that I know that I can text. There's one or two people that I know I can reach out to. There's one or two people, when I see their content, it looks and feels like it's them. So the realness is really where I'm finding that people are gravitating towards. And the good, the bad, the ugly, like actually like ripping off the band-aid, sharing, like you say, these dirty secrets, but being honest, but being true, but being yourself.
Yeah. I'm finding the same thing. And the challenge for some of us is we have been so hidden for so long behind this facade of I can do it all. I got it all together. The high achiever, I've got all the accolades, all the degrees, and all this experience, and I don't need anybody else.
Right.
And we're in this space where number one, we've discovered none of that really matters. And when you strip all of that away, now you're left with trying to figure out, what does really matter.
Right.
And how do I open myself back up to be real? Like that vulnerability of being real.
Right.
And you can want it and you can expect it from other people. But then when it's your turn, that's when it's, am I sure I want this thing? Like I've been called out on this a bunch of times, right? People be like, so girl, how you doing? I haven't heard from you. And I'm like, I'm good, but how are you? How are you? Like I can totally flip it. We don't have to talk about me. And I've had people be like, I'm always talking about me and you're never talking about you. Like after a while, people pick up on, they know you're not okay, but you are really good at hiding behind, this facade. And so now that we're craving real, everybody is craving it. And they're like, I'm not gonna allow myself to be in spaces where I have to be vulnerable, but you don't have to be vulnerable. Or I have to always throw up my stuff and you have to always be listening and coaching me. Like, I want to be really in relationship with you. And so now people are asking, how do I show up authentically in these spaces? How do I show up authentically and boldly and even with some vulnerability in my business?
Yeah. And I have found it is scary to be vulnerable, in certain,
it is
right?
It really
You got to
is.
pull the band-aid out, let somebody see the duct tape that's keeping it all together, right? And when you're in the middle of these shifts and pivots, the natural thing for us to do is to hide. I'm just gonna hide out until I figure it out, or until I get the cute little logo, or all glossy. And one, it takes you kind of keeping yourself accountable and saying, you know what, I'm not gonna hide.
Yeah.
But then also for me, like, it was as scary as it was. I knew that I had clients that were watching me. I knew that I had a community that I was serving, that really, quite honestly, like, I serve a nationally recognized nonprofit. I couldn't hide if I wanted to.
Right, right.
They are seeing me a couple times a week and all day on Saturdays and Sundays. I couldn't hide if I wanted to. So I'm like, okay, I can't hide, even though I would love to. So, okay, what pieces am I going to share? How am I going to show up in this space? And quite honestly, people are watching because they want to be able to know they see a rainbow in you. So it's like, okay, if they're seeing a rainbow and a glimmer of hope in me, I got to be that person. And not saying that that's not weighty, because it can carry weight. But at the same time, I recognize that when I started sharing and being vulnerable and saying, okay, I'm scared about this, or I'm uncertain, or I'm going through a shift, and actually you're seeing it in real time, you would be surprised. People that I never would have thought reached out behind the scenes like, yo, I see what you're doing and I'm loving it, and giving me hope, is giving me encouragement. And like I said, as scary as it can be, but recognizing that you don't have to do it by yourself and you don't have to do it in the closet.
Yeah, yeah. You touched on something I want to dig into a little bit. We are always, not always, often chasing likes and shares. And, when we're on social media, I have had more people tell me that they've been influenced or inspired or encouraged by my content who never engage on my content.
Right. And I'm like, well, where you been?
Where have you been? They're like, girl, you, oh my gosh, you're so inspiring. And I just see all that you're doing. I'm just so moved. And I'm like, I didn't even know we were connected. I had to like go back through my stuff.
Right.
I didn't even know we were connected. And so a lot of times the influence that we seek, we think is marked by, people's reactions to our content,
right,
not to our diligence and to our vulnerability. And it is hard to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
But there are people who are influential. I mean, I've had some of the most influential people in this area. When I saw them in person, they're like, girl, how was so-and-so? And I'm like,
how you see that?
Could you have just liked the post? Like, I needed the engagement.
Right,
could you have liked it? But you just, that validation that we're seeking, we don't realize the number of people who are looking for that inspiration, because like you said, they're hidden themselves. They can't come out for whatever reason and say the things they need to say. So sometimes they're kind of living vicariously through us.
Absolutely. Right? Yep, absolutely. For 100%.
Yeah. One of the things you and I were talking about before we logged on to the podcast was not only this need for community, but sometimes how our need for community isn't necessarily out of our need for relationship.
Yeah.
It turns into an enabling type of thing where you don't feel like you can be as good as you want to be on your own, but you don't really want to admit that to yourself.
Yeah.
You just kind of hide behind this idea of collaboration and using other people kind of as a crutch and as a way to minimize the risk that you just need to jump out and take.
Right.
Absolutely. So talk a little bit about what brought you to, because that was a really profound thing you said to me. So what brought you to realizing that sometimes people are in these collaborative community type relationships simply because they're afraid to be out there by themselves?
Yeah. And being out there by themselves could mean a couple of things. It could be that, you know what, I need to share the visibility with somebody else. I need somebody else's skill set that I don't have or don't want to, develop on my own. Or it could literally be, let me hide behind this person that I perceive to, have more X, Y, and Z, whatever that more is, right? And so you got to check yourself. I'm a big proponent of community. I'm a big proponent of collaboration, right? And it's how I've gotten to where I am. Like even though I've gotten burned in a number of situations, I'm still ride or die community. That doesn't mean I won't do it different or different type of way, but I'm still ride or die, right? But I find that sometimes people are like, oh, well, I want to collaborate because, and then when you hear the reason, it's like, no, you just want to do it because you think that person has more clout or whatever. And so then community becomes a crutch for you instead of you kind of standing out on your own and saying, this is what I do. This is my secret sauce. So I'm a big hip hop fan, right? I'm a old school hip hop, but
the good stuff. But
I always say like the best rap collaborations and best hip hop collaborations is when you bring two powerhouses together. You got Drake, you got Chris Brown. People know that record's gonna be fire because you got two powerhouses, right? But if Drake tried to hide behind him, we talking old Drake. Don't come after me for the new, right? But if you knew that like Drake was hiding behind, well, let me partner with Chris Brown because he better than me. You think something,
or I can because I can leverage, his I don't
Exactly.
have very many people, but if I can get with him, then maybe I can get, yeah.
Exactly. So if it's done from a strategic place, then it's cool. But sometimes I find that I've done it, but I know that my clients have done it too. You do it out of a place of fear, you do it out of a place of lack, and at the end of the day, they're never gonna work out to your good because the intention behind it wasn't what it needed to be.
Yeah. I think some of us go between the two, right? If we're solopreneurs, which a lot of the folks that I work with are solopreneurs, like they're building their enterprise.
Yeah.
Most of them are accustomed to doing business by themselves, and they have this kind of hyper independence thing where they are all, and that's to some extent the nature of entrepreneurship, right?
Yeah.
You wear all the hats.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we do have those situations where we are burned and where we are disappointed, and you're like, okay, well, I can't do that ever again. And so that's something that we hold on to and we carry, and we don't delegate, and we don't, collaborate the way that we should. But then on the flip side of that, when we do get into community, I think we are secretly wishing that in these communities we find people that make us feel safe enough to not have to do it all.
Yeah.
And then it kind of becomes like, I think that's when it kind of becomes this crutch. Like, this is the only, I can only be in community with you if there's something I can get from you, if there's something you can do for me, rather than saying, I just need to find my people. I just need to be, around people who think like I think and who are ambitious like me.
Yeah. And it's like a safe space to be able to share ideas.
Yeah, it becomes very transactional. It
Yeah.
becomes very, and I think that's where a lot of us get stuck. We've been so burned by the relationship of it all that when we do get into community, we only want to deal in transactions, what I can do for you and you for me, as
Yeah.
opposed to just being here.
Yeah, which is counterproductive to the word collaboration. Collaboration is supposed to be a win-win for both. And in
Right.
the community, it's supposed to be a win-win, right?
Yeah.
You bring something, I bring something. Not you keep sucking, and I'm the one that keep taking
Low. Okay.
more.
Like, I'm just giving and giving and giving and giving, and you're just like, please, sir, I'd like some more.
Right.
Like, no, not that. Yeah, not that. We don't want that at all. And that is, I think we see that in a lot of communities. Like, maybe even in online communities.
Yeah.
There's one person or a group of people who are the leaders of that community, and everybody's just kind of these little birdies with their mouths open, waiting to see how much they can get. And then when the people who are running the group are like, all right, I've got, something to offer you that costs a little more, where you actually invest something in it.
Exactly.
All the little mouths,
Right,
all the little mouths close up.
Thank you. I'm off to the next.
I'm like, I thought we had something here. I thought we kind of had this kind of reciprocity where you're contributing to the community in a way that isn't just as a receiver.
Yeah.
And one of the things I enjoy about being in community with you is that there is the expectation that you don't get to come in here and just take.
Yeah.
And you don't get to come in here and just give either.
Yeah.
Because both can be toxic.
Yeah,
you can be a toxic giver.
Yeah.
Just like takers can be toxic. And I think it's been really refreshing to be in communities where the goal is to just be in community.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just be and grow with each other, rise with each other. And it don't have to be anything but just that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the most valuable thing I've gotten out of being in community, when we were talking about this last night, is finding a you for you.
Yeah.
Right? Finding a me for me. When you are the person who is always giving, to now be in that community where somebody is pouring into you.
Right.
It's really transformative. What areas or what kinds of communities do that for you? Because you lead so many.
Yeah,
you are leading like in many areas. How do you find that community?
Yeah. So that's a good point. And so finding a you for you, when we talked about vulnerability earlier, it really does take being vulnerable enough to say, you know what, I ain't got it today.
Yeah.
But you know what, I think that you do. So let me reach out to you and see what you got for me, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So when you talked about, solopreneurs, and we think we got to do all the things, right? Part of having and finding your own community is raising your hand and saying, you know what, I need a me for me.
Yeah.
And accepting opportunities to be able to have people pour in, right? So mindset coaching is huge for me, and continuous mindset coaching. And sometimes people see opportunities for you that you don't see for yourself. So even when you get that invitation that says, hey, you should apply for this, or hey, like I'm doing this, would you come? Our very first thing might be like, nah, I ain't doing that, or I'm busy, or I don't want anybody in my business. But sometimes it's like, okay, you know what, let me be vulnerable enough to allow an hour to participate in this thing, right? From a business standpoint, I have a community called the Bo Collective. The Bo Collective is a group of Black, multimillionaires, over 200 or so. And so not necessarily from like emotional community, but I know that if I need something from a resource standpoint, hey, I need an example or a template of a capability statement. Who do I need to call to do X, Y, and Z? I know that community is there for me. And then you got to have like your sister girl community, right? The people that you got jokes with, you can send some memes to. You got to have people that you can be honest with. And then there are people that look, they don't care nothing about my business. They could care less about the titles. They don't care. All they want to know, did you see that TikTok that I sent you? And it was funny.
I sent you like 10 reels last night. Did you watch any of them?
Yeah. So being open enough to accept invitations for that. But yes, but you also got to be, in order to be a you, to find a you for you, you got to be open enough to want that and actually say, you know what, I'm not having that great of a day, or here's what I got going on.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that takes a self-awareness. Not saying that we don't have the self-awareness. I think we have it, but we don't often listen to it.
Yeah.
We know we're in need, but we get so accustomed to pressing past our needs to perform, and pressing past our needs to take care of other people, whatever the case may be, that we don't really stop and listen to the voice inside of us that's saying, hey, I have this need for this thing, or for these relationships, or for the, this kind of support. And then, when we do get into communities and into relationships, we tend to, like I said, just be transactional, because we're not looking at what we actually need from an emotional standpoint. So it turns into, it's unfulfilling. We're like, I tried that community. I tried the community thing, and that didn't work for me, or I can't find my tribe. I can't find my people. And after a while, I think we have to ask ourselves, is it that the group isn't out there? Or is it that while you were in the group, you were so closed off, nobody could really reach you?
Right.
I think we run into that more often than maybe we don't realize that's what we're running into. We just keep thinking we're running into these groups that don't work for us.
Yeah. Yeah. At some point, you got to like, kind of point the finger back and be like, no, maybe it's me. Like,
it's me. I'm the problem, right?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, because we all have those things. There's nothing that says that I'm not ever the problem. Yeah. Sometimes, out of my trauma, out of my, personal experience, my culture, my, upbringing, you come to all of these relationships and communities kind of with this baggage.
Yeah.
And, sometimes knowing you have a need or not knowing you have a need, either way, you're not really looking for the right thing out of those communities.
Yeah.
And I think it's, not only in community, I think it shows up when we attempt to show ourselves on social media. When we start to promote our business, we approach it the same way. We're not really building relationship through social media, business type relationships. And I have found that that's one of the things that you've always encouraged us to do. And, as coaching with you, is like, it's not just how much stuff can you spit out there, it's how can you encourage people to connect? right?
Yeah.
How do you create those connections? How do you
Mm-hmm.
stand out to attract the right people to you
Mm-hmm.
and then build those connections so that it's not, hey, buy from me. Hey, buy from me. It's allowing people to see more of that vulnerable side of you.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do that when you are accustomed to, now I'm cheating because I know the answer to this because I've already had you, but share with us, how do you start to be a person
A
who
real
is open
person.
and
How do you start being a real person?
how can I be a real person on social media and still sell and still build relationship and present something that people want more from than just things.
Yeah. I think the start honestly is by listening. Like read the room or platform, whatever platform you're
right,
on.
right.
You got to read the room. And so if I would have just, and any of us just would have started this week with this canned speech about let me sell my thing, and the thing that we were trying to sell for 90 days, I'm going to sell it on Monday. I'm going to sell it on Tuesday. This particular season that we're in requires you to tap in and say, what does my audience actually really want and need at this moment? And what do I have that can fill that gap? So first, by listening to what your timeline wants, what they need, what they're craving. So you and I both know we're watching this landscape, and you did an excellent job of it, like in November timeframe. Hey, this is really stressful. This is crazy. You know what my audience need based on what I'm hearing and based on what I'm seeing, they need community. They need a safe space. And so you were able to respond to that in real time because you were listening to what the community wanted and fill a gap. And so one way to do that is to fill a gap, but you can't just go in like what they call it, a bull in a china shop. Like, well, I got this thing I'm gonna sell, and it's my retreat, and it start next week. Yeah. Okay, maybe, but you might have to have a little bit finesse with it.
Yeah, I mean, because people are really in their feelings.
Yeah, give it to people the way that they can take it and meet people where they are. And if you sense that the timeline is sensitive, is need of a hug, don't just come in there bulldozing your way in. Like, actually meet them where they are. So that's one way, listening and then filling in the gap. And then I think that we get confused thinking that being authentic means that you got to be bleeding on your timeline. Everybody don't need to know all the dark secrets. They don't need to know you. They want to hear your journey and they want to hear your thought process, but they don't necessarily want to hear it always in real time. So it's like you got to pull back sometimes and like actually say, okay, am I writing this because this is like my personal journal? Or am I writing this because it's attractive to somebody that is going to pay me as an expert?
Yeah.
And those are two, it's a fine line between authentic and bleeding on your timeline. And so even in these emotional ups and downs, and by the time this episode gets released, no telling what the timeline is going to be doing. No telling, but at the advice still applies. You got to read the room, but then also be able to be an authority, but not just be bleeding out so that people are like, you know what, I was going to pay her, but she don't look like she got her shit together. So how am I going to pay her?
She's just as stressed as I am. Exactly. And clearly, like,
and that's not to say you can't be authentic and share your journey, but again, not sharing it in a way where it's like, I'm sharing it from a place of power and I think to this versus I'm sharing it and I'm in shambles and my life is a hot mess.
Right, like you hopping on social media and you snotting and crying.
Exactly.
Talking about cocaine. Now let's all work together. No, I don't think so.
Right. Yeah, that ain't gonna work.
I don't want that. Right. I agree. Like it's like a light bulb kind of comes over my head every time we have these kind of conversations because, you know, being effective doesn't always mean knowing what to sell when.
Yeah.
Sometimes it means, just like you said, sometimes people need a hug. Sometimes people need you to say, hey, I don't have a clue what the heck is happening here either.
Yeah, right. But come to my master class and let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. Come on into Haven and let's all get it together. You know, come join me. Yeah. Let's have this dialogue.
I'm not telling you not to sell. I'm saying sell with savviness.
Yeah. Yes. With tact.
Right.
be like, yes, I know we're all sad, but listen, I got this thing. You need to buy it. Come on in and buy this book. No, it really does you have to have some finesse. You have to have some tact. And I think that is so important. Yeah. One of the things I know that you are a great proponent of is standing out. Your trademark. I like pink, y'all.
Yes.
I like pink. My brand colors are pink and blue, but there is nobody who likes pink.
I see. I didn't even know your colors was pink and blue.
Well, blue and pink. Yours are pink.
Yes.
Shanel is queen of hot pink, and it is always fly. Like, her pink fur coat is just dope. Of course, one of her methods is called the pink flamingo method, and that is really what helps us to not only create meaningful content, but to make sure people actually see this meaningful content.
Yeah.
So before we hop off, I want you, if you would, to share with us a little bit about the pink flamingo method and how can we tap into what it is that you do to amplify and really accentuate our secret sauce.
Yeah, I put this pen to paper probably about a year or so ago because I recognized that I do have a formula for standing out in my local community when I go to in-person events, but then being able to take that and blend it with what you're doing on social so that those connections and that relationship building and that authenticity really kind of rings true. And I do that through the pink flamingo method. Is really how you stand out in your social media content, but in in-person settings so that people are curious and they're like, let me holler at her for a little bit because
what she got going on.
Exactly. And so if you've ever seen a pink flamingo, now there are such things as like white flamingos. But right, if you've ever seen a pink flamingo, one, you can't help but smile because you're like, what in the world is this? But it's pink. It draws your eyes in, but it literally stands above the crowd. And so the framework that I put together is called the pink flamingo method. You can download it. It's a freebie, and it's what I think the website is like pinkflamingomethod.com. I'll make sure it's in the show notes. But it's my proven methodology, 4-step process on how do you stand out in person or in online spaces and blend what you're doing from a local community building standpoint with your social media.
Absolutely. And it has a lot to do with how you physically show up. Yeah, like y'all, I had to come out of, now I'm in black and white today. I had to come out of black and white and brown. I had to really tap into, but then once you do, this is the cool thing about this methodology or this framework. Once you do come out of the norm and step into this pink flamingo way of thinking, it changes everything. It changes how you show up, how you want to show up, and how, how people see you when you do show up. So I am an absolute fan. Proven, yes, absolutely. As evidenced by,
for somebody's listening that don't like pink, you don't have to wear pink.
You don't have to wear pink. As evidenced by the blue fur coat I had on yesterday in my reel. Okay, floor length royal blue fur coat.
I loved it.
Yeah. So Shanel, tell us how we can. I know you mentioned the website for the freebie. We'll make sure that we put that in the show notes and in the description on YouTube. But also let us know how we can connect with you, to work with you, or to just find out more about what you do.
Yeah, if you're a service-based provider, consultant, and you're like, you know what? I recognize I have a shift. I need to create a new energy in my messaging. I want to reach new markets. I have a brand new offer. You might have a brand new offer that you want to reach new markets for. Hit me up. I'm on all socials. Shanel Evans, Shanel with an S.
Yes.
Shanel Evans. And just send me a DM. I would love to chat.
Awesome. Listen, thank you, Shanel, so much for agreeing to do this. This has been a lot of fun. I've been looking forward to it since we launched season 2. So I'm super excited that you agreed to do this episode with me. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anytime. Listen, y'all, this has been another dope episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like, share, subscribe, do all the things so that you can remain connected to Unperturbed, the podcast. Once again, thank you to our guest, Shanel Evans. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care of you, okay? Bye. Hey, thanks for joining me for another powerful conversation. If that hit home for you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss what's coming next. And definitely share this with a sister friend so she can get in on this too. Now look, don't just stop here. Let's continue the conversation inside The Haven, my private Facebook community where we get even deeper and do the real work of shedding the strong Black woman mindset. This is a safe space I've curated just for us. Head on over to enterthehaven.net to join us today. Now, before you go, drop a comment and let me know what resonated with you the most, and I'll catch you in the next one. Until then, take care of you first. See you soon.